Hello and welcome to another episode of the Contractor Grow Show. My name is Mark. I am your host. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Alfred Navarro and Navarro Construction in Pasadena, California. Alfred, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Alfred, maybe you could just tell us a little about the history of the business and kind of where you guys are at today.
Sure. So, been doing this about 33 years. Started really young. It was supposedly the easy road. So, I got a job working in a house, kind of finishing a house for some people, and working there full time. And they kind of planted the seed of, "Hey, have you thought about starting your own business?" I was like, "No." So they started referring me to their friends, and eventually I started contracting, and that was about 33 years ago. So we've been doing pretty well. I mean, sorry,
Sure, no problem.
not much being in front of the camera. So no, we've been going strong. We do mostly high-end residential. We started kind of in the Hollywood Hills, Beverly Hills area. Moved to Pasadena in '99, then decided I didn't really want to drive all the way over there to work.
Uh-huh.
So I had some great clients, some great connections, and so I started kind of digging into Pasadena, and it took me a few years, and mainly all my projects are within 10 miles of my house.
Oh, man, I love it.
And see my customers in the grocery store, and everyone's happy, which is good.
Yeah.
We're a referral-based business. I mean, I have a website. I'm on LinkedIn and stuff like that, but we really don't advertise intentionally because we don't do huge volume. I'm not bidding 10 jobs a
Okay.
month like some contractors. So, and I like the higher percentage of, because I have my own way to bid. It might not be the best or most efficient way, but it's very accurate for us, and helps us control and not lose money. So, but it's worked. We've rolled through the house crisis and all that, and kept going. So we're that's where we're
Fantastic.
at.
Sure. No
Sorry.
problem. So, man, I saw you. Looks like did you come from a long line of family builders? I mean, is that kind of what your family's been doing?
So yeah, my grandfathers were carpenters. I worked with them when I was younger. My great aunt and uncle and their son, they had a plumbing company. So I worked with them in the summers doing, just doing plumbing, and my cousin and I. So, and then I worked for an electrician when I was 17. So I've come, I've been doing this basically all my life, and I'm pretty, I also work on cars and stuff like that. So I luckily I have a gift to build and be
That's
mechanical.
great. I mean, was there one memory, or is there anything, if you draw back on your past? I mean, your grandfathers were builders, in California, I assume. Is that right?
No, in
Oh, okay.
Utah, they were carpenters. They weren't contractors. They worked for other people, and then my other grandfather, he was a carpenter and a plumber, and he worked for family
That's
members.
great. I mean, I saw you got your license when you were 19. Is that right?
Well, I didn't get it when I was 19. I worked for 8 or 9 years, vacillating on should I get my license or
Uh-huh.
not. And I have a cousin he's older than my mom's cousin. He's older than me, and he does national construction projects. Insurance stuff, and he's like, you have to get your license. And then I have other people saying, yeah, don't get your
Oh, right.
license. So I vacillated for like 8 or 9 years. In 2000, I bit the bullet and I got my license, and it was like, why didn't I do this eight years ago?
Right. Gotcha.
So yeah, and then and again, and over the years, I've just went back and I've gotten 3 more classifications, and I'll probably end up getting some more. Makes just I have the knowledge. It just makes it easier for permits and sifting through the
Sure,
bureaucracy kind of
sure.
stuff.
I noticed on your website that you guys really pride yourself on working just by referrals. How many folks do you have on the team right now?
So right now I only have 4 guys in the field, and then I have subcontractors that some of them I've worked with for 30 years, and some of them I've known since I was five
Wow,
years
that is
old.
amazing.
So they're all kind of family. Everyone gets along and works together. Um, we could pack 3 or 4 trades in at one time, and they all know each other. They'll have lunch together. So it's a really nice environment to be in, and I hope to keep it that way as some of the guys start getting older. You know, they don't have anyone to take over for them, and so it kind of makes me nervous because I got to look for
Oh, right.
someone new.
There's probably no more subcontractors you've known since you're 5 years old.
Oh yeah, I mean I only have one. I have one guy now, but I have a long relationship with a lot of them, 10, 15, 20
Amazing.
years. So it's really great.
So we've talked with, a number of builders that have got kind of the whole team put together, right? They've got a team of 25 guys walking around, and then we talk
Yeah.
with plenty of remodelers that have got a kind of a core team of 4 or 6 people or whatever, and they deal with subcontractors to get everything else done. What's the difference in the kind of dynamic? I mean, how does it work for your business to have kind of a smaller team and then a larger group of subcontractors that takes care of everything instead of having, many more of those guys in house?
So for us, I mean, I've had these subs for a while, so it works out because we have multiple projects going on, and we've been working for a long time, so I can kind of call them and move them around as I need to. Like if I need them to be on another job, to finish something, they can pull off and go over there, and everything seems to work fine. And I guess the big thing is when they're all working, they all help each other.
Huh.
Like if they need tools, I
Uh-huh.
mean, it's not like some jobs I've seen where the guy comes in, they do all the work. One trade comes in, then the other trade comes in and like messes some of their stuff up, and I don't have those issues, which is really nice. But it seems to work. I mean, I would love to have another 4-man crew, but I kind of didn't want to expand too
Uh-huh.
big. But I'm kind of getting to that point where I'm going to need to expand a little bit
Gotcha.
more. Because before I used to have a foreman and secretary and the whole 9 yards, and then like right before COVID, I lost my secretary. She had family problem with her husband had illness, so this was right before COVID. So since then, I've never replaced any of them.
Uh-huh.
So I've been running since like 18, 19 on my own, and we're doing up to 7 projects at a time.
Great. Sounds like you got it
So
worked out.
it's working, but it'd be nice to get those key people back in place and maybe put
I
together
see.
another team.
So, Alfred, one thing that we talk with, we talk with remodelers, and they sort of something that's been a big issue that seems like everyone's talking about these days. I mean, you get jobs, but it's actually hard to kind of find and recruit and sort of build a team and retain the team.
Yeah.
And whether it's in-house or whether it's actually subcontractors, right, to kind of create that cohesiveness. And it sounds like, I mean, with your community and you've been there your whole life, and you've got relationships with these guys that's that's not an issue that you necessarily deal with. But I mean, how do you deal with kind of culture, even with your subs, and sort of keep everybody sort of like here together in the game, reliable, sort of, without sort of losing people or people peeling off and going their other directions? I mean, how do you kind of maintain that culture and keep everything really feeling great with, your crew and your subs?
That's a good question. I, honestly, I don't feel like I do anything special. I don't. I know everyone gets along, and it's kind of cohesive, and it just I don't. You know, I don't know that I do anything special. I mean, I communicate with them. I pay
Oh,
them on
right.
time. I don't. When we're bidding a project, I get the job, they get the job. I don't have five
Uh-huh.
electricians and go to the lowest bidder. So, we all work together, and I know some of them, even some of the subs and my guys, will go to each other's birthday parties and do stuff like that. So it just seems like everyone just has a great connection. Um, we have, there's always issues like you bring in newer sub and you know starting times and all that, but we kind of work through that. And I don't have like a real answer as to like, hey, this is what I do that makes the
Uh-huh.
magic happen. I know now I'm a lot calmer and more relaxed and less reactive, which I think helps a
Yeah,
lot.
right. I bet.
you know, when the train's going 100 miles an hour and, parts are flying off, it's like, now I'm just calm and try to put everything back together
Oh, that's great.
so everyone's kind
Uh-huh.
of happy. Um, yeah, it's interesting. I don't have that exact answer that I could put my finger on that I do something
Sure. I mean, it
special.
sounds like you really kind of focus on the fundamentals, right? Obviously getting them paid on time, that's not necessarily something that everybody does, right? And also just
Yeah,
the community and the friendship. I mean, hard to replace that, right? And if you've literally known these people for 20 years, and you get a project and then they know that they've got the project, you're not price shopping all over the place
yeah.
and you've got that loyalty. I'm sure that means, the world to them.
I think the loyalty is a big deal. It's a big deal to
Mm.
me. Um, I think I expect a lot, and the type of work we do, it's very, it has to be great. And we work with some designers, and everything has to be perfect, like next to perfect, which
Uh-huh.
is fine. And we're able to accommodate that because that's kind of where I started, was in that high end realm. Um, it's just that's my mentality. So I don't I don't shortcut. I don't, if something's material is going to cost more to do something, then that's what it costs. And if it's not done right, tear it out and rebuild it.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's that's
Yeah.
seemed to work.
Yeah, I see beautiful photos on your site, of just beautiful work that you guys have done, and yeah, I mean, clearly you guys are doing amazing work. You guys do some custom fabrication as well, is that right?
Yes.
And can you tell about some of the challenges or the kind of benefits of that? And I mean, what type of custom fabrication do you guys do, and how does that kind of fit into your portfolio of the larger services that you guys offer?
So I mean, it did like we'll. I mean, it's custom, but I mean, we'll match because we do a lot of work on
Uh
old
huh.
houses. So we'll match the molding. We'll match, if there's paneling, siding, we'll get it made, or a cabinet maker will make it. We get just odd installs that people want, or a custom bay window that you can't buy, and they want it built a certain way without a bunch of chunky wood on it. We do a lot of I mean, I'll design it and then send it into the fabricator to do like floating steel benches and um, cantilevered steel stuff that for windows. I mean, it's more of that
Uh
kind
huh.
of stuff. Um, we'll, I mean, we'll do toe kick registers, like just whatever the designer's asking for. I basically have to figure out how to make that work or put it together. Because it always looks great on paper, but
Yeah,
when when
right.
it comes time, they're like, "Hey, where are you going to order that from?" And it's like, Yeah, we're not ordering it. We're making
Amazing.
it.
One of my favorite parts about the
So
Bay is all of the just stunning architecture, whether it's in the city or, in the houses. And, I've asked folks who built all this, folks say, well, there was a lot of Italian craftsmen, people from different countries that came over and just brought their like craft with them. But then I've wondered, well, how do you remodel it? Right. So if you go in and there's some
yeah,
custom pieces and, it's not like you're going to find these custom moldings anywhere. Right, like a
no,
needle in a haystack and some old secondhand store, right, or whatever. So you guys go in, and I mean, you're able to go in and take a look at, okay, this is some custom work that needs to be done. We need to match this window. It needs to be done well. And I mean, is it complicated bidding projects like that, or do you kind of have it down at this point? Like, we're going to replicate that over here, but we've got to do it all brand new. Does it take much time to put those together, or you kind of got that figured out at this point?
it takes a little while to figure out because you got to figure out all. I kind of have to build it in my mind and then break down the parts and see where I'm going to get them
Uh-huh.
from. Whether it's steel. I mean, all prices of everything fluctuate, so we just got to. I got to try to, with the best of my knowledge and experience, figure out how long it's going to take to make that and roughly what the material costs are. We've done some windows. We did a job in South Pass, and they had, the back of the house had all aluminum windows, like retrofit windows. But there was original pocket windows in the back of the house. And luckily, they left the windows in the wall still. So we took everything apart, took all the glass out, put new glass, new weights, new kind of rebuild all these windows. And they came out amazing, but it's just things for me. It's like, why did they ever cover those up?
Yeah.
Put like new single pane, aluminum windows when there's these windows that you literally lift up the window seal and the window drops into the
Huh.
wall, and then you close it, and it's like there's nothing there.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just, and yeah, it's hard to figure out how long that's going to take because then I also have to think, okay, well, I kind of know has to be done. I know how long it would take me. Now I got to figure out how long it's going to take my guys to do
Right.
that.
Because it's not necessarily as fast as you're going to do it. So you got to sort of like figure out, okay, how am I going to translate this and kind of,
Yeah, it's the translation and the thinking process. And sometimes the guys just look at me like, what are we doing? And then I'll explain it, and they kind of look at me, and then I'll show them, and then they're like, oh, all right. And then they take
right.
off.
Awesome. I noticed that some of your hobbies outside of building here, I mean, I obviously very passionate about construction and building new and remodels. I noticed that you had some posts about doing some traveling. I saw you were in Rome a while back.
Yeah, we love to travel and look at architecture.
Yeah.
Visit family. We have family in Italy, so and it's just such a different way of life. It's great. It's nice to get away and I've done some work in the south of France for some
Oh, amazing.
friends. So it's very that was difficult because everything's metric,
Right.
and then no one, I go to the lumber yard and I have to explain to them in French what I need. So I had someone with me, so they kind of translated and gave them all the dimensions, and then they're like, "Oh, come back later. We have to make it." And I'm like, they're taking these logs and like just
Wow.
making the material. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's
Amazing.
crazy." So it's fun. I like it. It doesn't matter where I'm at. I like to work and get in there.
Very cool. So, I mean, it looks like you're, an avid tennis fan as well. So I mean, some of these
Yeah.
passions, traveling and, tennis. I mean, how do you balance kind of your sort of, your work life with some of these other passions that you have? Because I mean, sometimes it's easy to just go, and wake up 30 years later and you haven't gotten
Yeah.
out there and done some of your other hobbies.
Well, I mean, the tennis thing is, I started playing about 9 years ago, and at first, my wife was taking lessons, and It's like, you want to play tennis? I'm like, no. I have no interest in playing tennis. And then I played, and I loved it. So I just kept playing, and you know, usually play in the evening, like 6 o'clock after work, or on the weekend, carve out a couple hours. Um, Usually I'm up between 4 and 5 in the morning during the week. Hopefully I'm getting home around 4, 5, six
Okay.
o'clock. So so I play tennis a couple nights a week. So the other times I'm probably doing
Uh-huh.
paperwork. I just try to. That's why I need to rebuild the business aspect of my team so I can have a little more free time.
Yeah, gotcha.
Um, yeah, the balance is no joke. I mean, it's, you're balancing work, family, and then also you have to have exercise and take care of yourself too. So it's sometimes one thing gets a little more attention than the other, and that's just, you just have to make it
Yeah,
all
sure.
work. And I mean, some people are very good at it. Some people have a hard time with it. I think I've been lucky with it. Everything that I do is really close to where I live. So except the traveling, which it's, we usually at the end of the year, some years we usually shut down because at the end of the year, everything starts closing and it's hard to get stuff in, or if stuff's ordered, it's not coming in. So those are the times that we would normally go on vacation, would be at the end of
Uh-huh.
December. So, but and I mean, that was a way to make it work.
Uh-huh.
So,
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, we're here December 20th, man. I appreciate you making time. I know.
oh, we're working straight through
Oh,
this.
really?
Yeah, we're going vacation. We're gonna do vacation in February.
Wow.
So I've been trying to figure that out for 6 months, like how everything's gonna work when I'm gone.
Oh, that's great.
So
So, I mean, I saw on your site, you guys are proud of your word of mouth and referrals, and I love that. I mean, it just says everything just great about the business, right? I'm curious to kind of get into that a little bit. I mean, so like referrals, I mean, what we say. I mean, we're over here, with Rocket Science doing, helping folks kind of promote stuff actively. And
yeah,
typically, companies have built their company, they've built their business with referrals, but it's not always easy to grow kind of actively with referrals. They just sort of come in as they come in, right? And you can't necessarily go hit up your referral
yeah,
base.
yeah.
I mean, does that keep your pipeline full, and or do you have a way of sort of pinging folks or reaching back out and saying, hey, if we worked together 2 years ago, we worked together recently on this project. Would you be willing to refer? Not that many people do that. I mean, how do you have any way of bringing in more referral business at all?
Yeah, I could, and I mean, it's not a bad idea. So I work with a few different designers that, refer me
Uh-huh.
work. I also, kind of the tennis community that I play in, I'm doing jobs for them as well, for friends, and so they're kind of referring me. And then I know a lot of real estate
Okay.
agents, so I get referrals from them, and then past projects that I've done, because we'll have multiple projects over. I'm doing a job, 2 jobs, right? It's like a double job for a client that I did a job for 10 years
Oh, okay.
ago.
Amazing.
So it just seems, luckily, I haven't had to really go out and start trying to drum up more work. I mean, I'd like to maybe meet another architect or two, because some of the people that I've worked with have retired. So I just feel I'm very fortunate that I haven't had to struggle to
Uh-huh.
do that. And but it's always in the back of my mind,
Yeah.
because I know it's hard for some people to get projects, and then I yeah, it's just I've been
Yeah.
lucky. I mean, I'd say I've been lucky, but I've been there when people call. I've went to places in the middle of the night. People call me 6 years later and say, "Oh, this thing's not working," and I go there and it's like, "Yeah, we didn't do that, but I'll fix
That
it."
is great.
So it's I try to. There's no customer service anymore, and I try to provide that and take care of people and take care of my customers, and even people that aren't my customers. I get phone calls, with lots of questions and stuff, and it's a project that we wouldn't take, but I'll go through the homeowner, talk to them, and say, "Hey, this is what you should do. If you need help, I'll look at your contract." But that's not a project that we would take on, just because I also don't want people to take advantage of. So I always offer help. I don't know. It just, the wheels keep turning, and I don't have a magic reason why, but they do.
I love it. So for our listeners, I mean, I just want to emphasize a few things that Alfred just said, and it'd be worth rewinding this and making a list of what Alfred just talked about, like sort of 4 or 5 points. I mean, you answer the call when people call you. You have gone in the middle of the night. Not that that's something we're all, saying is, is a business sort of concept, but you've done it,
Yeah.
and then you've actually gone back to projects where folks, built many years ago. You go look at something, you realize we didn't even do that, and they say, "Well, this needs to be fixed." And you say, "Yeah, I'll take care of it."
Small stuff, not major
Sure.
stuff, but
But that level of customer service, I mean, if you're building the business, referrals is absolutely the best way to do it. We say that referrals are hard to kind of, sort of scale, if you will,
yeah,
but your business has been built on referrals, and it's working great here all these years later, and it's because of these things that you're saying. I mean, I get the sense to you, it's sort of like, no big deal. I mean, that's some amazing customer service, and it's true. Customer service has been diminishing, right? We've all, go call some company, wait on the phone for half an hour, right? So that is amazing to hear. Looking ahead, I mean, do you have, any goals here for the next year, sort of regarding the growth of the business? I mean,
I do.
is it
I
kind of a
do.
percentage, or what do you
And
think of?
it's mostly maybe bringing someone in into the office. I haven't had a secretary in a while, or someone working in the office, so that would relieve so much of my time. And then maybe getting a full-time superintendent. I used to have one, and makes things a lot easier. And I think with those people in place, maybe I can build another team, and I'll have more time to spend with those guys to build that team, which would probably be future. But I mean, as far as what we're doing now, I think at one point this year I had 7 projects running, and they're not huge projects, but they're big projects. Remodels, additions, bathrooms, kitchens, and it all ran pretty smooth, but it could have been a lot smoother. So I think I need to get those key people in place, and then we can manage that much. It'll be a lot easier to manage that volume, or we could maybe do more volume. But there was a point where we would only do 5 projects at a time, and for some reason, jobs were getting added onto, and then we had other jobs starting a few years ago, and we just kept going. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's our start date. We're starting, and there was one point, I think it was 2 years ago or a year ago. I think I had 6 or 7 projects going, and I was like, something's wrong. I feel so calm and relaxed, and like everything's running smooth, and I'm like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like I don't know what it was, but it felt great. And I think if I get some more people in, I can get back to that, because that lasted for about 5 months.
Yeah.
and then it's like, okay, here it comes.
That's great. Well, fantastic.
Yeah, I just think Oh, go ahead.
Well, did you have another last few comments here, Alfred?
Uh, no, I just think communication, like, I know communication is a big problem in our industry. But I think communication and getting back to people on time and showing up when you say you're going to show up. And even, I don't do windows like, oh, I'll be there between 1 and 2. If I say I'm there at 7, I'm there at 7. I'm there at 8. Like, I've never, since I started the business, I've I've always done that, and I've found that goes a long way because I don't like to wait for people to come. Oh, I want to come between these hours. Like, I don't have an hour to wait for
Uh-huh.
you. Call me when you're 30 minutes out, and then I'll
Uh-huh.
meet you there. So, but communication with the customer, I think, is a big deal.
Well, fantastic. So for listeners, again, just to kind of recap, Alfred is very humble and very willing to share some insights here, and I appreciate the humility of saying, this stuff's not that big of a deal. In my experience, just in life, and also with other builders we talk with, it's a big deal, right? This level of customer service and care, and I can see that it's not necessarily because you've been in this community so long, but it kind of goes hand in hand, right? I mean, these are your people. These are people that you see in the grocery store, and
Yeah.
if you're going to be there and you're going to see folks, and you're going to see your old buddies from school or whatnot, then you're going to need to treat them really, really well, right? You're going to need to take care of them
Yeah.
to build that business and to get those referrals. So it sounds like you've done beautiful work. I've seen you've got great reviews online, and so it's just fantastic. It's really refreshing to hear all this, Alfred. If folks want to get in touch with you, if they want to have a remodel done, or larger projects in Pasadena, surrounding area, what's the best way to reach out to you?
I mean, you could call me, or email.
Uh-huh.
I give the number. I mean,
Sure.
our number is 626-398-1777 is our office. Email is info@navarroconstruction.com, or my email is alfred@navarroconstruction.com.
Okay. Fantastic. And that's Navarro, Navarro, 2 R's there in Navarro. Fantastic. Well, Alfred, thank you so much for spending really probably the beginning of your Christmas holiday with me here on the podcast and with our listeners. I really appreciate you making time, and it's been a pleasure talking with you. And we'd love to have you on the show again one of these days. Yeah,
Great,
thanks for
thank
being
you.
here.